Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about Michigan State and how they're doing next season. It's their win total is 5.5. The plus or minus is 5.5 wins. So do you think they're going to get to 5 wins or 6 wins is what we're really talking about here. And if you look at Michigan State and you look at their 2023 schedule, they open up the season 2-0. They beat Central Michigan handedly. They beat Richmond, and then the wheels fell off. They ran into Washington. People thought it would be competitive. It obviously wasn't. And then we realized that blowout wasn't all that bad. You got blown out by the national championship runner-up. You got blown out by a team that was about to go undefeated in the regular season. Then you go and lose to Maryland. It looks bad. You lose at Iowa in a competitive game to get a bye week, go and lose at Rutgers in a close game, and then right then and there, you felt like the season was over. We start firing our coaches, things start going wrong, shout out to Mel Tucker, and this team falls apart. And they get shut out by Michigan, they lose on the road at Minnesota, they beat Nebraska, ugh, scary, they lose at Ohio State, beat Indiana, which is weird, and then they go to Penn State. And this game against Penn State, they really mailed it in. If you guys don't know that game, I don't even know if I can get the box score to come up in here. But that particular game, let me see something. No, it won't come up in here. I'd have to go pull it up somewhere else. But in that particular game, Michigan State finished with, I think, negative 35 yards rushing. You know what? Don't misquote me. Let's do this. Let me show you Michigan State against Penn State. If we go back to 2023, I hate being the bearer of bad news because look at that. It says 39 yards. But I'm pretty sure I remember this game vividly. And if you go to box score and you go to team stats,
there's only one way to make the impossible possible.
I don't know where that's coming from. I hate this.
Cheat on cookies and cream, cookies and cream. Big on protein, low on sugar, huge on flavor. What? It's basically cheating.
I don't know where it's coming from. I literally don't know where that came from. I apologize. But I digress. Let me get back to the topic here. Michigan State, total rushing yards, minus 35 rushing yards. Total yards in that game was 53. You see it down here, 53. Only 1 turnover. So what happened? They just weren't doing anything with the ball. You got to get rid of everything. You got to clear house, bro. And they obviously did. So Michigan State, new coaching staff. If you guys don't know the deal, Jonathan Smith coming over from Oregon State. What a great coach he is. He built Oregon State into something great. And in the shadow of Big Brother of Oregon, he managed to make Oregon State formidable, beating Oregon. And when you see somebody building a power with limited resources, you say, yo, what can I do at Michigan State? Those guys spend money on sports. Don't be fooled. Michigan State, I get it. They're little brother to Michigan, but they spend money on their program. Okay? They pay their coaches a lot of money. They have great resources, great facilities, and they're in a hotbed of talent. There's a lot of talented players in Michigan. There's a lot of talented players in Ohio. In that upper region, you're going to find football players. Never mind that Michigan State does have the capability to recruit nationally if they needed to, if they wanted to. Now, have they been great recently? No. They've had some terrible coaches. They've been trying to figure out, how do we replace a legend in D'Antonio? Like, how do we find somebody who could make us relevant? And you go and grab Jonathan Smith, the man who does more with less. And he's got his work cut out. It looks pretty rough. I'd expect him to do about the same that he did at Oregon State, which is beat some teams he's not supposed to and create an identity and a culture and then start winning. I do believe that. It might take a while, but he didn't show up empty-handed. He doesn't have to rebuild his team with recruiting classes. He doesn't have to hang on to that old roster of underachieving players, quote-unquote losers. No, he doesn't have to keep all those people. He can use the transfer portal. He can use any method he wants to rebuild, and I think he's doing that. First thing he did was got rid of some coaches that didn't need to be there. And then he brought in some amazing coaches. And when I say amazing coaches, I'm so impressed with what he's done. So, yeah, he brought over his crew from Oregon State. He brought over some guys, offensive coordinator, offensive line coach. We get it. But going and grabbing Joe Rossi from Minnesota, that's the defensive coordinator. Minnesota's defense was always good. And Joe Rossi knows what to do. So he got a new defensive coordinator. His old defensive coordinator obviously took over the head coaching job at Oregon State. So there you go. Then he kept the wide receivers coach, Courtney Hawkins, and I'm going to get into that a little later in the position group breakdown. Courtney Hawkins, keeping him was vital. Michigan State, if there's anything they do well, it's wide receivers. Jaden Reed, Keon Coleman, absolute monsters at the wide receiver position. They have been evaluating the wide receiver position at Michigan State very well. Very well. And it's just crazy that they lost their best receivers to the NFL or to the transfer portal, and they were left with a bunch of young kids. And their quarterback play wasn't great because their quarterback left and went to Auburn, right? Peyton Thorne. So they were just sitting there letting three guys chuck it everywhere. It was a bad offense. It was a bunch of players that weren't supposed to be on the field yet. They looked like a scout team offense. They're the type of dudes that should be getting reps at practice. Hence the minus 35 yards rushing or the 53 total yards against Penn State. But they also brought in a secondary coach that I'm extremely excited for, Demetrius Martin. Demetrius Martin used to be the secondary coach at Colorado. He got promoted essentially and went and got hired by Oregon for the last 2 years. And Oregon's defensive backs have been amazing for the last couple of years. Yeah, Demetrius Martin's a great recruiter and a great coach. And now he leaves Oregon to come to Michigan State at the same position. By the way, he's also a passing game coordinator. Imagine that. Instead of using your offensive coordinator, your quarterback's coach, your wide receivers coach, any of those guys, nope, we're going to use the DB coach to be the passing game coordinator while at Oregon. That man's got a lot of knowledge when it comes to football. I trust Demetrius Martin. Now, he don't have a whole lot of football players, I can tell you that. We're going to get into that. So, watching their season unfold, the wheels fall off. I don't judge you. Anybody who thinks about Michigan State might go, man, that team sucks. No, they're not the same team. They don't have the same players, same coaches. They don't have the same attitude. They don't have the same approach. And we're going to get into it. So, Michigan State, if you look at their stats last year, like I told you, they had three quarterbacks chucking the ball everywhere. Caden Hauser, Noah Kim, each of them, 1,000 yards passing. And then Sam Levitt got in there for a little T. Got in there a little T. Let me tell you, Caden Hauser, transfer portal, gone. Noah Kim, transfer portal, gone. Sam Levitt, gone. None of those guys are there anymore. All the quarterbacks are gone. Don't worry about it. They found replacements. Much better. Much better. Running backs, they're all returning. Nathan Carter, returning. This is a UConn transfer. Stud. Okay? Nathan Carter's a stud running back from UConn. Used to average 6 yards a carry. Now, last year, that offensive line was atrocious. The scheme was bad. Offensive coordinator wasn't quite up to par, and no head coach. But he still almost rushed for 800 yards. Only 4 touchdowns. They're not scoring anywhere, but he still was very productive. Nathan Carter is actually really good when you watch him on tape. Nate Carter is real, man. Jalen Berger is the other backup running back. And for me, when I watch tape, Jalen Berger is the least impressive one. Yes, he's 6'1", 215. And that's important that we talk about the size of these running backs. Because Oregon State had a three-headed monster at running back. And Damian Martinez, Deshaun Fenwick, and forgetting the kid's name who transferred to Ole Miss. He left the team. Now he's back at Oregon State. Man, how am I forgetting his name? I would never forget a name. Not that name. He's from Georgia. He's got 4 brothers that played out of their mind. I digress. I apologize. It's bugging me. Okay, so here's the deal. Oregon State uses 3 running backs, and they're all battering rams. Everybody's got to be 6'2" or taller and 220, 230 pounds. That is what they've been recruiting at Oregon State. That is what they want, these big battering rams. So now those coaches come over to Michigan, and they come over to Michigan State, and they're like, yo, we got to find – Bro, we cannot have this. We cannot have this, bro. Give me a second here. I got to mute every tab in the world when the shit comes up. So now you go to these running backs, and you show up, and you're going to coach your running back room, and you don't have those hulking beasts. You got some guys, but Jalen Berger's supposed to be that guy. I just don't see it. When I watch tape, he doesn't pop on tape for me. He feels like a third down back. Feels like he catches passes out of the backfield type shit. I'm not even kidding. It doesn't feel right to me. Yes, he's 6'1", 215, and maybe they teach him how to run behind his pads and he becomes somebody. I know he once rushed for 600 yards. And he did this, Berger did this while at Michigan State. But when I see you rush for 600 yards, this is a Wisconsin kid, when I see you rush for 683 yards back in 2022, and then last year you're down to 93, and you got your spot taken by a UConn running back, shout out to Nate Carter. Like, for me, somebody took your spot, bro. You're not it. You're not it. Like, and I know. Everybody's like, Rico, what are you talking about? This guy played good. He played good. Yeah, he's quality depth. I'm a lot more excited for Jaren Magnum. Jaren Magnum once had 15 touchdowns in a season when he played at South Florida. This dude was a beast, and he's a Colorado transfer, South Florida. This man is 6'2", 235. He's a goal line back. He's Oregon State's like DNA for a running back. He's the right metrics, right size. I expect Jaren Magnum to have more rushing yards. Obviously be used more than the 81 he got last year and the 2.7 yards per carry. It looks atrocious in the box score. But if you go watch the film and watch these players like I do, I'm like, yo, this guy's a player, man. That's a running back. He's a goal line running back. He's a problem. So I like him. There's another running back on the roster nobody's talking about. And it's Jalen, and I'm having such a hard time with his last name. Barbarin. Dude, I'm so bad with names. Jalen Barbarin. Barbarin. He was a freshman. 1 carry for 1 yard against Iowa. That's it. So why are you talking about him, Rico? Well, he's only 5'9", 185. Lightning fast, bro. Went and turned on the huddle tape. Went and turned on the highlights. Bro is him. This kid is fast. So if he doesn't hit the transfer portal, somebody's going to hit the transfer portal. I hope they keep them all. But I need you guys to understand what this running back room is going through before we assume they're going to have an immense amount of production, because I don't think they are. I love Oregon State's running game, their acumen, and the production that they have. But I want you to think about these running backs, these 3 guys that I talked about initially. Carter, Berger, and Mangum. These 3. They are all transfers. They're all transfers. So they started somewhere else. They came to Michigan State. And now they're on their 3rd running backs coach. Each one of them has had 3 different coaches in college. 3rd running backs coach. That is terrible for your development. That is terrible for your continuity, for your trust in the system, for understanding audibles and reading the holes and reading the block. And now you're going into a new running system, a new offensive scheme that's a little different than others. If you guys don't know what Oregon State's running ID is, or their identity is, Oregon State offensive linemen move the line of scrimmage. They don't just down block and trap block and do it. No. They move the line of scrimmage. That's their identity. They move it, and the offensive lineman, whether it be a guard or a tackle, stays on their path and gets to the second level. It's such an impressive thing. If you sit down and watch tape on Oregon State's offensive line, just their offensive line, watch them. They're all trying to get through their initial man. They're not trying to block the guy that they're blocking. They're literally trying to block the next guy on their path. They got their head up. They're looking past that first guy and trying to get to the next one. And it's so neat because their running back comes behind. They're blocking that defensive lineman just for a second, then they release him and they get up to the next level. And they just move in. Like, have you ever been in a concert? You ever been there with your girl and you're walking and your girl's trailing behind you? And maybe you're not holding hands. Maybe you are. I don't know. But you're walking and you're wading through the traffic. Not a concert. Maybe let's go to a nightclub. You're trying to get across the dance floor and somebody's following behind you and you just do that perfect amount of blocking and clearing out the way, and we go through and then the gap closes. That's Oregon State blocking for run plays. And they're trying to bring that to Michigan State. Now, that identity is there in the coaches. You got to get the players to emulate that and become an extension of you on the field. And I don't know if they're going to have that. but all three of these running backs are on their third running backs coach teaching them that. And I think that takes time. I don't think it's going to be like week one, it's not that bad if I think again. Week one is Florida Atlantic, so they might just run all over Florida Atlantic. They're going to get a huge confidence boost week one. But I just think that as they get into the meat of their schedule, they have a brutal September and October. They're not going to win a single game in October. It's going to be a terrible time for Michigan State in October. But if they can just get their feet underneath them, I think the last month of the season, these running backs will start hitting full stride. They're not coming out of fall camp like that. No way. No way. They don't know it. They don't even know what their coach wants from them right now. They're trying to learn about his workouts and his drills and his vision and they're trying to learn each other right now. It's early, bro. I don't know. You ever try to hook up with a girl that don't know what you like and you don't know what she likes? It's not always knocking it out the park, bro. Sometimes we're in here and we're doing shit. And we're like, man, there was a disconnect there. We need to communicate a little better. It's not the same as like 2 months down the road, everything's flowing and you got this shit going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just keeping it real with you. Okay? So, that being said, let's go break down. Oh, no, let's keep going down their stats. I just want to close these windows in case they make noise. Next thing I want to talk about. I've already muted this tab. Mute the tab, bro. So we talked about the running backs. I will tell you that the three of those guys, the four that I mentioned, are going to be at the top of the depth chart. Everybody else is kind of irrelevant. Some guys hit the transfer portal, like Jordan Simmons here, but it doesn't really matter. They already have enough depth at running back, enough quality big running backs that they're looking for. Receivers, Foster came back. And this is all about keeping Courtney Hawkins at wide receivers coach. So Foster comes back. That's your leading receiver. Good receiver, quality guy. I don't think he's like a home run hit. I don't think he's a home run threat. Malik Carr's gone. Trey Mosley in the league, gone. Jerron Glover got injured, but Jerron Glover is your deep threat. Jerron Glover is your guy to stretch the defense. And Jerron Glover jumped in the transfer portal. Kind of dipped his toes in the water and then turned around and said, all right, I'm going back. And he's coming back. So that's a great get for them. Fitzpatrick, gone. Terrell Henry, gone. He went to, I think, Wisconsin. He's a return man. But they got other guys. Antonio Gates Jr., that's who you think it is. That's Antonio Gates' son. He's not as good as they anticipated. He's got work to do. He's got to keep getting developed. He's a good kid. He's got the acumen. He's got the genes. He's got the pops. You got to go out there and play, bro. So, the tight ends don't really matter. I ain't worried about the tight ends, let me tell you, because the transfer portal's great. And when it comes to wide receiver, I don't see it on any of the websites, but I could have sworn TJ Shepard transferred in. TJ Shepard was the second leading receiver at Purdue for the last 2 years. He's a pro. I love the kid. I love the way he plays. I love the way he does his thing. TJ Shepard's good. Did I say Shepard? Sheffield. This is just me going off the top because I'm looking around. I didn't see it anywhere on the transfer portal pages, but I know that he was committed. I know he made an announcement like that. So receiver room looks fine. Got to have the quarterback to get it to them. And I actually think receiver room is going to be ahead of the running back room. The running back room's got a new coach. They got to fill each other out. Receivers got continuity. These guys been around together with the receivers coach. They're doing their thing. And when you got a kid like Aiden Childs coming in, quarterbacking, stud, takes care of the ball. Okay, that's real. Well, he makes a lot of smart decisions with the football. Kid's good. All right, kicker. They got kickers for days. Figure it out. Let's talk about their defense. What if I told you the leading tackler, Cal Haladay, is penciled in to be a backup next year? That's wild. Now, I don't know how true that is. I don't think it should be accurate. I think Cal Haladay is a starter. I think some of the linebackers they signed out of the transfer portal aren't as good as they anticipate. That's just me being real with you. So let's talk about it. Angelo Gross, defensive back here, stud, was probably going to hit the portal. Singer, his brother just showed up in the transfer portal. His little brother. They signed him. Little brother went to Charlotte, then went to Southern Illinois. Couldn't play at Charlotte. Goes to Southern Illinois. Plays one game at Southern Illinois, maybe two. I know he had 4 tackles in the season opener. Never saw him again. They say he finished with 5 tackles, so 2 games. And then I never saw him. I don't know if he's got character issues, but he jumped in that portal. And Michigan State said, hey, we'll sign that little guy. He's young. He's got 3 years of eligibility. We'll sign him because we want to keep his brother here. His brother's one of our leading tacklers and a stud, right? Jordan Hall, all-conference honorable mention, very young linebacker, came through in the clutch. That guy's going to be a starter for multiple years. Complete stud. Coaching staff got to love him. Mangum's coming back. Tatum, yeah. I'm going to say this, guys. And I hate to put it on him like this. Shout out to Sammy, Colorado transfer, went pro. Not here anymore. Boggle's coming back. Tunmai's gone. Good riddance. Former 5-star at Texas State. Nobody else really worth mentioning. Here's what I'll say. And I don't mean to be rude to some of these young men. I know they're working hard. But when I look at Michigan State's defense, I see a very good defensive line. I see tremendous linebackers. And then a suspect secondary. And the reason I say that, the secondary just underperformed all over the place. Now, the teams they play against in the Big Ten, they're not great passing teams. They're not. They don't have great quarterback play. They're not superstars. Like, I can go down their schedule, but I think what Jonathan Smith did was he recognized that the first line of the defense, right, the first level of the defense, the defensive line, he showed up and assessed his position group and said, these guys are good. Got to the linebackers, said, we need some help here. We need some depth. Found some studs. And they got to the secondary and said, fuck, I don't know if we got anybody better. I don't know if there's anybody better in the transfer portal. Let's do this. Let's get better defensive linemen. Let's get a better pass rush. Let's get better help up front in the front seven, and that will alleviate some of the pressure from these defensive backs. Because the easiest way to play defensive back is with a good pass rush. Those guys are tipping balls. Those guys are forcing quarterbacks to their weak side, flushing them out, not letting them throw on set, and in rhythm, on platform. You get them out there, get them uncomfortable, and have them throw up a duck, and we'll pick it off. Have them throw it to the wrong guy, we'll pick it off. But it's hard when you don't have the right defensive players, the right defensive backs that are at that echelon. But I'm going to tell you, the games that Michigan State's supposed to lose next year, I think they're going to lose them. And then the games that they're supposed to win, I think they're going to have the right coaching staff and the right DNA that they're actually going to win them. And that is saying something compared to last year, compared to the years before, where they were losing games they should not be losing. And that's the reality of the situation. So I don't think that's going to happen this time around. Now, they're still going to lose the games that you expect them to lose. You know, coaching can only take you so far. Can't bridge that gap. So going back to Michigan State here, looking at their depth chart, like I said, wide receivers, Alante Brown, I actually really like him on tape. I think he's a good kickoff returner as well. This is a Nebraska transfer from last year, from 2 years ago. Think he's a stud. Nick Marsh, never really seen him play, but I hope he does well. Antonio Gates Jr. is here. And then returning 2 starters from last year that have experience and can really play. Like I told you, Glover, taking the top off the defense. They do have other wide receivers. They're not listed here. They have about 10 of them, all competing. We'll see what happens. Offensive line, 2 of their offensive linemen were really good, and Oklahoma wanted both of them, and they got 1. But they did not get Van Denmark. He actually came back. And the front offensive line, the guards and the center, elite. Okay, you got Tanner Miller coming in he's a graduate transfer coming in from Oregon State, former walk-on, and he came with his coaching staff, complete stud, looks like a monster. Love everything about Tanner Miller, don't you forget it. Luke Newman, a 3 to 4 year starter coming out of Holy Cross, FCS All-American, monster. Great get for Michigan State, okay? So they have really good offensive linemen in the middle. On the outside is problematic. They're not great. We'll figure it out. We'll see what happens. They might even address one of the tackle positions. You never know. They do need some depth. They have young depth, but they need experienced depth. Offensive line, you do need depth. Tight end. Like I told you, these tight ends don't really matter to me. Tynell Hopper, he's a transfer coming over from Boise State 2 years ago. And then Jack Valing showed up, bro. Jack Valing is him. What a beast of a player. If I go to do a Google search and I go look up Oregon State football stats, I haven't looked at this in a while. That's why it's not even purple. Let's go. It doesn't matter. I know their stats. Check out this boy Valing, bro. Check out this boy. Look at his touchdowns. 8 touchdowns in 29 receptions. What? 8 touchdowns and 29 receptions, okay? It's remarkable. And you look at Aiden Childs here, he's thrown 4 touchdowns. No interceptions. He knows what to do. This man's got almost a 70% completion percentage, 300 yards passing. Aiden Childs takes care of the football, throws it to the right guy, and he's got a safety blanket in Jack Veiling. This guy is a stud. It's an incredible story. Okay? Jack came over with the coaching staff. Michigan State knows what they have at the tight end position. They got a weapon. And this is why Malik Carr, we don't care. Go, bro. You want to go to Ole Miss? Go to Ole Miss. Just get to stepping. Now, is Aiden Childs a bona fide starter? I don't know. I like him. I think he's got huge upside. But do you see this guy right here that they just signed, Tommy Schuster, backup quarterback? Tommy Schuster's a gamer, bro. Tommy Schuster is him. That's a North Dakota State. Shout out to the Bison. No, he's North Dakota. North Dakota State, North Dakota. I got to double check. Don't get me twisted. I had it right, North Dakota. Not the Bison. He's just North Dakota. They're green too, so I got a little confused. But when I went and watched tape on Schuster, went and watched tape on Schuster for my podcast. So this would have been, who knows, how long ago? Maybe 2 months ago. I went and looked at Schuster, and I said, holy smokes, I think he could start. He's that good. Dude can play football. He's a dual threat white guy. He can play, man. I like him. I like him a lot. So, if anything, they have depth at the quarterback position, and it's not 3 random dudes throwing for 1,000 yards and looking terrible. These are good quarterbacks with a great quarterback coach. Obviously, Jonathan Smith used to play quarterback at Oregon State. So, it just works, man. I like the quarterback position. I already told you the running back room is stacked with experienced size. The smallest running back is Nathan Carter at 5'11", 200 pounds. Doesn't even matter. Every one of those guys can move the chains. They just got to get their offensive line to block the right way. They got to get there. They got to get these receivers to get separation and give their offense a chance. But they're not terrible, guys. This is not it's just not bad. That's the only way I can tell you. It's not bad. Defensive line will be the strong suit for this team. The fact that they got Dunningham, and I'm going to go into all the transfers on the next tab, but they have really good depth up front on the defensive line, and they're very experienced. Probably the most experienced position group on the entire team, okay, is the defensive line. I really believe in these guys. They get it done. They know what they're doing. It's just unfortunate that the secondary let them down, and their linebackers let them down, their coaches let them down. Now, looking at their linebackers, studs, bro. Jordan Hall, like I said, sophomore, all conference, honorable mention, going to be a starter for multiple years, absolute monster. They have the nerve to put Cal Halladay as a backup over here, middle linebacker. They're saying Cal Halladay won't start. Look, this website doesn't know the teams. Our lads is not informed. Don't ever take what they have like they know these teams. Don't ever go, I Googled it, Rico, it's right. No, it's not. Cal Halladay led this team in tackles. He's not going to the bench. All right? He's not going to the bench. He led the whole damn team in tackles. He's a stud. Now, he has problems in coverage, but he's a stud. And the one guy they brought in is Jordan Turner, former multi-year starter out of Wisconsin. You know why he didn't work out of Wisconsin, though? He actually didn't work out. He lost his starting job. They stopped using him last year. They just said, oh, he's not dynamic enough. He's not athletic enough. He's kind of rigid. He's kind of just, let me tell you, Cal Halladay's not going to sit the bench to Jordan Turner. Now, Wayne Matthews? Woo-hoo. Wayne Matthews, complete monster. Transferring in from ODU, has 2 years of eligibility, led the team in tackle. Like, Wayne Matthews is one of my, I think I have him in my transfer portal rankings. I had them. I don't want to pull up Twitter right now, but I put him out there, and I could have sworn I have Wayne Matthews somewhere in my top 5. For linebacker transfers. He's that good. That's a stud. I love their linebacker depth. I love who they have at linebacker and what they're doing. Studs. Defensive backs leave a lot to be desired for me. Like I said, Gross is one of those top leading tacklers, and they brought in his little brother. They got to figure it out. They have a great defensive backs coach to figure that out. Can he bridge the gap? I don't know. I hope they play well. All right. Almost there. Let's go look at the transfer portal. Who'd they lose? 5-star bust. Nothing to talk about. Zion Young, a young kid who never really played. Shout out to Westlake. But he's going to Missouri. Malik Carr, I said going to Ole Miss. I meant Houston. Congratulations. He is a decent player. He is very good. Jordan Simmons, Running back, used to run around and play a little bit. He's from Georgia. I know him, McEachern. But going to Akron, congratulations. Wigan Nut should have stayed, man. He's good depth on the offensive line. Decided to go to Illinois because he wants to be a bona fide starter. But he was contributing. Hauser hit the portal going to ECU. Probably won't start at ECU. They just got Matt Garcia, right? Or Jeff Garcia? Not Jeff Garcia. What's his name? The kid from Missouri / Miami / Georgia / California. Jake Garcia. My goodness, Rico. Christian Fitzpatrick, quality wide receiver going to Marshall. Tyrell Henry going to Wisconsin. Good return man. Noah Kim going to Coastal Carolina. Got a chance. Sam Levitt going to Arizona State. Going to sit the bench and get developed. Spencer Brown going to Oklahoma. This is a multi-year starter offensive lineman that they're losing. This one hurts probably the most because they're going to have a good team, man. They're going to be fine. It's just they're not going to win all their games. They're in a tough division, and they got a lot of work to do. But it would be nice if they had them. Blackstock, okay, if you like them. Rest of them, nothing to talk about. Now let's talk about the transfers they did get because they got a ton. I already told you Luke Newman, FCS All-American coming in. Wayne Matthews, stud linebacker coming in. Two of the best, man. Dowse, Georgia Tech defensive lineman. Georgia Tech's going to miss him. He's not bad. It's a good rotational player. Tanner Miller, stud. Look at his hair. Disgusting. But a stud, former walk-on, going to be starting. No problem. Tommy Schuster, I told you guys, he's a gamer. I believe in Tommy Schuster. Can't wait to see him in the UFL someday. Don't know much about the long snapper coming over from JMU. I didn't mean to skip the punter. I don't know anything about kickers, punters, or long snappers. I don't even take time to study them. They're not in my data. They're not in my RAM. They're not in my notes. They're not in my database. They're nowhere. Sorry. Keep doing what you do. Dunningham. So Dunnigan was defensive lineman at Middle Tennessee State for the last 4 years. Love everything about him. Guess what? He was batting down passes. Just remember I told you this. He led the country in batted down passes. Pass breakups among defensive linemen. I think he had 8 of them. So go figure. There's Jordan Turner. Like I said, limited athletically, but good enough to start at Wisconsin. Should probably be starting over here. Gonna probably get in that rotation, and everybody on defense rotates. All right, it's all good. Jack Veiling, complete monster. Childs, your starting quarterback for the next couple years. And then Avion Gross, the younger brother of one of your starters, keeping one of your stars out of the transfer portal by signing this kid. So you got to sign him. Good transfer portal class. I like it. All right, let's go see what we're doing. 2024 schedule. I got them beating Florida Atlantic. I have them losing at Maryland. Now, if they win at Maryland, then we're good. But I have them losing at Maryland, okay? Beating Prairie View A&M. I have them beating Boston College, and I know some people will pull back at that and be like, yo, what about Tommy Castellanos and all this shit? All right, Thomas Castellanos is a great dual-threat quarterback, cannot throw the ball at all. So the only weak point on Michigan State's team is their secondary. Their front seven is extremely strong. I love their linebacker core, and I think they're going to be ready for that game. They also have Prairie View A&M the week before. They don't have to do a whole lot of preparation for Prairie View, so they're probably practicing for Boston College for 2 weeks, if I'm being real. And I don't mean to be rude, but I know they'll be doing specific things for Prairie View A&M, but you guys know what I'm saying. I think they beat Boston College. And I actually think at this point they're 3-1. I apologize. I got my dog freaking out on some shit. They're 3-1 at this point, and then they got to go against Ohio State and Oregon. They're not winning those games. Get a bye week, lick your wounds. You're not beating Iowa. You're not beating Michigan, and I don't have them beating Indiana. They could. I don't have them. I don't need them to, but I got them going undefeated the rest of the way. I have them beating Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers. Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers. Their strengths, I don't know what they are, but they ain't going to be able to do them. The defense will be solid. By then, the running back room will be put together. By then, they'll know what they're doing passing-wise. I love the development of this team as the season goes on. I think they win all 3 of those games at the end of the year. If you don't believe it, fade me. But I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins. I got 6 wins. And if they beat Maryland, for whatever reason, that's 7. If they beat Indiana, that's 8. Now, you can do coin flips there. You can do coin flips on these last 3 if you want. Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers, I don't like it. I don't like the quarterback play at Rutgers at all. Okay? I don't know what they're going to do at Purdue. I tell you, the wheels falling off all over these programs right here. So for me, they're going to beat these 3 teams. They're not beating Indiana, not from what I can see. But I got them beating Boston College. If they don't beat Boston College, then they just have to beat Maryland for this bet to be right. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 or 6. 5 or 6. That's where you're at. 5 or 6. I'm on 6. I believe in coaching staffs. I know who they are. I'm on 6. So, go back to the win total. If you notice, 6 is a value bet. What do you know? It's a value bet, and I believe in it. So, we'll pull up the chart now. I'll show you guys. I've been talking for 30 minutes now. Pardon me. Let me pull it up. Locks. Here we go. I got a lot of stuff going on over here. And I'm going to zoom in on this. If you guys don't know the chart and the color scheme, purple's value bets, and there it is. Michigan State value bet. I'm over it. 1 unit, 5.5. 5.5. I got them winning 6 games. I feel like they're going to win every single game in November, and they're going to beat some of those easy games early on, and they might surprise you and beat either Boston College, Maryland. Boston College or Maryland. They got to beat one of those to get to 6. That's the reality. They got to beat Boston College or Maryland to get to 6. Or Indiana. Figure it out. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Good luck, y'all.